A sharp scream sliced through the quiet of a Willow Creek morning, the kind of sound that makes dogs bark 3 streets over. Help! Oh God, somebody help me. The voice was unmistakable. Margaret Hensley, president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. The woman who could make a grown man repaint his garage because the shade of beige was insufficiently harmonious. I, Robert Harlan, 58 years old and 25 years retired from the United States Postal Inspection Service, set my coffee on the porch rail and allowed myself the smallest of smiles. I knew precisely what had just happened. From my Adirondack chair, I watched the scene unfold like a play I had rehearsed in my head for weeks. Margaret, dressed in her signature lime green cardigan and white orthopedic sneakers, had been making her usual dawn patrol. She paused at my mailbox, clipboard in one hand, the other reaching for the latch. Then came the metallic snap that echoed off every vinyl-sided house on the cul-de-sac. She leapt backward as if electrocuted, her right hand clamped inside the box, fingers caught in the spring-loaded jaws of the Gopher trap I had installed the night before. It was not a lethal device. I had spent an hour in the garage with a torque wrench and a willingness to test it on my own thumb first. The pressure was set to bruise, to teach, to make a person think twice before sticking their hand where it did not belong. No broken bones, no blood, just a lesson delivered in steel and spring. Neighbors poured out in bathrobes and slippers, clutching phones and coffee mugs. Old Mr. Jenkins from across the street stood in his driveway in plaid pajama bottoms, mouth open like a bass. Mrs. Alvarez next door had her phone up, recording. Someone shouted for an ambulance. Margaret hopped in a frantic circle, screaming about lawsuits and attempted murder, her lime cardigan flashing like a warning beacon. I rose slowly, walked down the steps, and crossed the lawn. Hold still, Margaret, I called, voice steady. Struggling only makes the spring bite harder. She spun toward me, eyes wild. You did this. You rigged my hand in a torture device. I ignored the theatrics, knelt, and slid the safety pin back. The jaws released with a soft click. She jerked her hand free, revealing a perfect red rectangle across her palm and fingers, angry but intact. Diane appeared at my elbow, tea in hand, worry etched between her brows. Robert, tell me you didn't. I gave her a look that said, trust me, then turned to the growing crowd. Mailbox is federal property, I announced, loud enough for every phone camera. Opening it without permission is a felony. I have footage. Deputy Tom Wheeler arrived before the ambulance, lights flashing but no siren. He took one look at Margaret cradling her hand, then at me standing calm as a judge, and sighed the sigh of a man who had pulled me over for speeding in 1998 and still remembered the lecture I gave him about postal regulations. Robert, he said, explain. I handed him my phone. The screen showed 17 time-stamped clips. Margaret at 2:47 a.m., 1:13 a.m., 3:05 a.m., always the same ritual. Flashlight, open box, remove envelopes, whisper standards check complete. Then stroll to the community dumpster. Tom's eyebrows climbed toward his receding hairline. We're way past warnings now. The paramedics confirmed no fractures, just a deep contusion. Margaret demanded the hospital anyway, still shrieking about permanent nerve damage. As the ambulance pulled away, Tom turned to me. Come by the station this afternoon. Bring every scrap of evidence. And Robert, don't leave town. I spent the rest of the morning building a case the way I used to build them in Denver, back when I wore a badge and carried a gun. Laptop on the kitchen table, external drive, printed logs, chain of custody forms. Diane brought eggs and toast, then sat across from me, arms folded. You happy? She asked. Not yet, I said. But I'm getting there. The trouble had started small. A utility bill never arrived. Then a birthday package from our daughter Claire in Seattle, tracking said delivered, box empty. Then the property tax statement I needed for an appeal. Each time the USPS scans were perfect, delivered to 1427, Willow Creek Lane, front mailbox, exact minute and GPS coordinate. I knew the system. I had helped design parts of it. Someone was intercepting after drop-off. I bought a trail camera the size of a matchbox, mounted it in a hanging fern. 3 nights of nothing but raccoons and the occasional drunk teenager cutting through yards. Then the infrared glow of Margaret's lime cardigan at 2:47 a.m. She moved with the confidence of a woman who had never been told no. Open, remove, tuck into her ever-present folder, whisper her little mantra. I watched the clip until I could recite it. Tom watched it twice at the sheriff's office, then leaned back. She claims she's inspecting for vandalism. Says the HOA has authority. I slid a printout across the desk. 18 U.S.C. Section 1708. Theft of mail matter. Section 1702. Obstruction of correspondence. Federal mailbox. Federal crime. HOA bylaws don't override Congress. Tom rubbed his temples. I need more than video. Proof she opened or discarded. So I gave him more. A decoy envelope labeled certified check. Do not bend. Inside a blank sheet and microdot tracer ink on the flap. Camera rolling, Margaret took it, drove to the HOA office dumpster, and tossed it 20 minutes later. I retrieved it with gloves, UV light making the tracer glow like neon. Tom whistled low. You beautiful, obsessive man. The HOA board sent a notice that evening. Emergency meeting, 7 p.m. Topic, mailbox safety violations. Diane rolled her eyes so hard I feared for her retinas. You're going, she said. It wasn't a question. The community room smelled of burnt coffee and desperation. Margaret was absent. Hospital, they said. But her husband Greg stood by the donuts looking like a man who had misplaced his spine. Carol Whitaker, vice president and Margaret's chief enforcer, banged a plastic gavel. We are here to address the reckless endangerment perpetrated by Robert Harlan, resulting in grievous injury to our president. I stood before she finished. 2 points of order, I said. 1. Mailboxes are under exclusive federal jurisdiction. 2. I have video of your president removing mail on 17 separate occasions. I set up my laptop, mirrored to the wall screen. The room went still as the infrared clips played. Greg's face crumpled. Carol tried to interrupt. The projector kept rolling. When the lights came up, Mrs. Alvarez raised her hand. My insurance renewal never arrived. I thought I lost it. Mr. Jenkins admitted the same about his VA prescription notice. One by one, residents spoke up. The empire of fear cracked like cheap plaster. 2 weeks later, a black sedan parked in front of my house. Agent Laura Chun, Postal Inspection Service, stepped out with the calm authority of someone who had seen every flavor of stupid. Mr. Harlan, your evidence package is the tittiest I've seen from a civilian. We executed a warrant on the HOA office this morning. She laid photos on my table, drawers stuffed with open mail, color-coded files on every homeowner, notes beside each name, leverage points, fine histories, private arguments. Margaret had been building dossiers to control the neighborhood through shame and penalties. My file was thickest, copies of my bills, a printout of my porch camera specs labeled potential privacy violation. Agent Chin smiled thinly. She was watching you watch her. They arrested Margaret at the hospital, still in her gown, bandage on her hand. The indictment read like a greatest hits list: mail theft, unauthorized possession of postal keys, obstruction, conspiracy. Carol Whitaker was cuffed the same day for shredding records after the warrant hit. Margaret sued me in civil court for assault, battery, reckless endangerment, and emotional distress. The courtroom was packed with neighbors who had once feared her clipboard. Her attorney waved glossy photos of a hand swollen like a catcher's mitt. My attorney, Rachel Kim, introduced the ER report: mild contusion, no edema. Metadata showed the photos had been edited on Margaret's phone 5 hours after discharge. The judge's glare could have frozen coffee. Witnesses took the stand. Postmaster confirming delivery scans, paramedic describing the injury, Agent Chin detailing the dossiers, even Greg testifying he had seen the master key but believed Margaret's story about official permission. I took the stand last. Rachel asked why I set the trap. To protect federal property and stop a pattern of theft, I said. I calibrated it to deter, not destroy. I documented every step. The judge ruled from the bench. The plaintiff's claims rest on the fiction that HOA aesthetic authority extends to federal mailboxes. It does not. Mr. Harlan's actions, while unorthodox, were reasonable under the circumstances. All claims dismissed with prejudice. Mrs. Hensley and the HOA are permanently enjoined from interfering with any mailbox in Willow Creek. Costs and fees to the defendant. Potential perjury referred to the district attorney. Margaret was led away in cuffs for the criminal docket upstairs. She did not look back. 6 months later, a letter arrived, postmarked FMC Alderson. The handwriting was careful, almost childlike. Robert, you won. I told myself I was keeping order, but I was hoarding control. The mail is a public trust. I violated it. 6 months is a small price for understanding that. I won't ask forgiveness, but I will say thank you for the lesson. Margaret. I read it twice, folded it, and filed it under closed. Willow Creek rebuilt its HOA with 5 members instead of a monarchy. Meetings lasted 30 minutes and ended with cookies. The new entrance sign reads, "Built on respect, not rules." My mailbox, sanded and varnished, sports a small brass plate. Once learned, forever earned. Diane and I sit on the porch most evenings. Kids ride bikes without measuring grass height. Neighbors wave without checking for infractions. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of boundaries everyone agrees to honor. Now it's your turn. In the comments, tell me where you would have drawn the line. When someone keeps taking what is yours, letter by letter, inch by inch, do you call the sheriff, set the trap, or pack up and move? Is a calculated pinch self-defense or cruelty? Would you have waited for the system or taken justice into your own hands? Speak plainly. The mailbox is open.